Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at second declension nouns. Now, we've already learnt the first declension. We've learnt that nouns that go like mensa end in an A, and they've got a set of endings. 6 endings in the singular, 6 in the plural. Today we're going to look at a second declension noun, and instead of ending in an A, it's going to end in us. Okay? Now, the noun we're going to take is annus, which means a year. We get the word annual. And it goes annus, anne, annum, anni, anno, anno. Anni, anni, annos, annorum, annis, annis. Okay, new set of endings, us, e, I, o, I, os, orum, is. Okay, now it's got the same sort of rhythm as mensa, am, I, ar, I, as, arum, is. We're now going us, e, I, o, I, os, orum, is. Okay, so the sort of shape is the same, and if you compare the two side by side, you'll see there's a lot of similarities in the way those endings work. But what this means now is that when you look at a noun in a Latin sentence, you're on your toes, because the endings are either sort of A-type endings, as we've come across with our first declension nouns, I, are, those type of endings that always have an A involved. Now, because we're using second declension nouns, there's a whole kind of range of endings. In the nominative singular, they end in us, and that's very, very recognisable. Masculine singular nominative will end in us. Okay, very good. Annus, and we get nouns like servus, a slave, or gladius, a sword, or locus, a place, or dominus, a lord or a master. Okay, they always end in us. But then their endings kind of swerve around in terms of the vowel being used. So us, e, I, o, goodness, I, os, orum, is. And we have the same difficulty that we had with mensa, that some of those endings crop up more than once. The letter I, for example, can be a genitive singular, us, e, I, but it can also be the nominative plural. So that's quite a nasty one to confuse. But that's exactly what happened with mensa, if you remember. Genitive singular mensa was mensae, and the nominative plural of mensa was mensae. So, we have learnt to cope with the fact that the same Latin ending appears on a noun in different parts of its declension. So we just have to be on our toes and look out for it. Okay, so if we were to practice with these nouns, you could imagine I might ask you to write a sentence such as, the slaves are watching the Romans. Okay, the slaves are watching the Romans. So, normal rules apply. We look for the subject in English, and that is the slaves. Latin for slave is servus, and it goes like annus. So we're going to put it in the nominative plural, and we'll have servi. Verb at the end. Now, the slaves are watching the Romans. The Latin for a Roman is Romanus. Okay, it goes like annus. It's got those second declension endings. So, the slaves are watching the Romans. The Romans are the object, and they are plural. So we need the accusative plural ending for Romans. And we think of annus in the plural, anni, annos, annorum, annis. So, Romani, Romani, Romanos. Okay, so we've got servi, Romanos, and then the verb are watching. They are watching, spectant. We'll do another one. So let's say Marcus loves the sword of the farmer. Okay, now Marcus, nice Roman name there. So here's the subject, nominative singular, Marcus. He loves something, verb at the end. What does he love? He loves the sword. So that's the object. Latin for sword is gladius. Goes like annus. Gladius, gladium. So there's our object in the accusative case, gladium, and he loves the sword of the farmer. Right, now remember, farmer, agricola, that is not a second declension noun, it's a first declension noun. But don't go mad, just remember, you've already learnt how they work. So we want the genitive singular of farmer, and that will be agricolae. Okay? And the verb, which we've left until last, amat. He loves, Marcus loves. So we end up with Marcus gladium agricolae amat. Okay, so just a couple of words of warning before I leave you to it. First thing, if a second declension noun has an I, the letter I, before the us ending, you're going to get a kind of slight stuttery effect because you've got two vowels coming together. Gladius, gladium, gladii, gladio, gladio. Okay, two vowels coming together, not joined as a diphthong, which is where you get one sound, as in, for example, me and sai, that ae ending is a diphthong. Two vowels pronounced together as one sound. Where, by contrast, you get two vowels together, but they are not pronounced as one sound, they are very distinctly two sounds. That's what we're getting with gladius, gladium, gladii, gladio, gladio. So the two vowels are separate noises. It just means you get funny looking words like gladii, which has got two I's. Kind of looks like a typo, but it isn't. Okay, that's the first word of warning. Second word of warning is a more general one, which is we've now learnt first declension nouns and second declension nouns. We've learnt first conjugation verbs and second conjugation verbs. You have to be able to cope with mingling them all in together. And when you're working out how a particular word works, you have to know, is it, if it's a noun, is it a first declension noun or a second declension noun? Is it a first conjugation verb or a second conjugation verb? Okay? So, you know, these things we're learning, you have to keep them going. A little bit like learning your times tables. Once you've learnt your 2 times table and your 3 times table, and someone tells you you've got to learn your 4 times table, they don't say, oh, and forget your second and your third. You've got to keep them all going at the same time. Okay? Apart from that, pretty easy. So, see you next time, and hope you're enjoying these lessons. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.